Hi everyone, Intuitive Cathleen Miller here, and I am sharing an important message today that is something I actually channeled yesterday while I was hiking, and it was a pretty profound message and discussion with my guides. And as many of you know, or for those of you who might not know my work and myself, I work as a multidimensional channel, so I work with many angels, star beings, Ascended Master, sometimes a lot of different beings that come through for messages, for support with the group work that I'm doing for healing. And what came through yesterday was a really profound message from one of my Andromedan guides. And she was sharing about how I was asking her about all of this, what is happening in the gay community, a lot of, what Google, changes with this being stripped, this being changed, and sort of going backwards with rights in a perception way could be perceived as that. And so what I was very excited about in hearing this message and hearing from this star being was really this empowering message. And so my intention is to share this to be an upliftment and to be an encouragement and empowerment for anyone in the gay community and as an ally. That is basically what she was showing me, is that people who are gay, whether you are bisexual, trans, whether you are queer, however you gender identity and however you like that works for you and is true for you, is perfectly fine. But it was also what they were showing me was this full spectrum ray. And so when we create our soul chart before we get here, we actually choose in our, families that the coming in gender, which might not be the continuing gender, which is interesting. And so between other lifetimes that we've had, what lessons we're wanting to learn or develop in ourselves and our soul exploration in this lifetime, we can set up high probabilities. And for some, they have totally supportive families and communities around them. For others, it is everything possibly could be stacked against it, can be, because that's part of the soul's growth. And they said what's really interesting, what I loved about this, it says because there's this full spectrum of energy embodied, which is also reflected in the rainbow symbol of the gay community. And not by coincidence, my business symbol also has the rainbow on it as well. And so part of that full spectrum is it's the capacity to tap into many, many different energies and embody many, many different energies. And what that creates is a powerful, it's a powerful transmuting capacity for many, not all, because everybody can be on very different life paths, very different soul paths. I'm speaking quite generally in this, but what they were showing me was, one, that part of that choice to put that in a soul chart is because you are here to bring colors and different variations of expression of the way you're living, to be that different example, to be the unicorn, not to use the metaphor of it, but to be the unicorn that you are, to inspire others, to give others a different possibility, and in some cases to example strong contrast for others to have different experiences of growth. Is that easy? Not often. Can that be extraordinarily challenging? Now, when we look at the bigger picture of what's happening governmentally with rights and being able to legally express that, and if you've seen there's a fabulous documentary called Outstanding, and it talks about the 100-year history of the gay community and a lot of what developed over time. And what they were showing me was part of that trying to control and not have that come out is because the power that is in the full spectrum, the power that is in the people who have these energies that aren't typical, that aren't as common, and that what they are able to create in the world and what they are able to influence in the world is so powerful. So attempting to regulate that, suppress that, control that religiously, control that legally, control that, is where this and what's exciting about that is it's a attempt to control the power. And anyone who would attempt to control power of personal expression and personal happiness is obviously, this is coming from a dark agenda, but it's also coming from this out of control fear that this could actually change the course of history. So this is where it's no coincidence that huge artists, huge musical artists, huge creative people that are in the world, and people who are just processed differently, the neurodivergent culture that can be part of this, not always, but this is all part of those energies that are the out of control, creative, in a very positive way, that are the change makers for the earth, and particularly for this current time, in this current 5-year window of 2025 to 2030, we are in a very powerful window of not just global, but intergalactic and multiversal change. And I mean multiversal of what's happening on our planet really being affected by and being quietly supported by surrounding planets and surrounding galactic forces. We are moving into a galactic citizenship, which will come, it's already disclosures happening, in a beautiful wave, and will continue in more profound ways over this year, certainly, but in the years to follow. And so my work as a born medium, as a neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, you name it, it's in there, and a member of this community, I am, I've always had these really specific capacities that has taken me decades to understand, because another thing that a lot of queer people possess is the ability to adjust masculine and feminine energies. And this is part of where some present very masculine, very feminine, but they also are incredible balancers. If there is a hyper masculine, they can soften. If there's a hyper feminine, they can balance and structure. So just your energy and your presence is so powerful. And what this Andromeda guide was imparting in me was, one, to not be discouraged by the noise of what is happening in the world. This is a temporary attempt to to slow progress that really is already, we know we are on this transition, or we are on this threshold of change that really can't be turned back. The light is rising, the full spectrum is rising, and as the encouragement that they wanted to give was, one, to know within yourself that you're honoring and being true to you, and trusting that that is more than enough, and not looking for an outward little insignia online that's going to then validate you, or an order online that's going to say your marriage isn't real, or your gender isn't true because they've deemed that so. That is an attempt to create a power that only you can hold, was the message. That's not me. That it was a direct message to be shared, is to know that for yourself, and to stand calmly, stand in a grounded way in that. Because as we can stand in our knowing of what's true for us, what is truly what we're here to do and be in the world, which may never make logical sense when we really look at the bigger picture. But part of, especially right now in this phase of history, in this time, being able to embody more of that full spectrum unity consciousness is ultimately the starseed goal, but it's also the queer part of a lot of queer soul charts are to embody a very specific frequency supports in the unity consciousness that is bridging where we are now to a society in a very short distance future that first of all this will be totally peeled back and gone, but it will also be in a new space and a new stratosphere of possibility. Another thing she shared was that there's a lot of gender fluidity and a lot of other star families and star systems. And so this is something that is, again, if you've ever heard the term, Earth is a master planet to master. So part of that, it's not for pre-K kindergartners in soul development. This is a advanced track one to really learn. And what gives us learning? Tremendous contrast, tremendous challenge. So oftentimes we each have unique soul charts where we will set up a crazy family or crazy finance challenges or strengths or crazy, personal experiences and growth or traumas. And so really being able to trust that no matter, and this was another message she gave me directly to share, was to trust that what you've been through is part of this compassion that you can potentially cultivate that is changing everything for not just planet, but for the collective consciousness to go to a new place. So really trusting that within yourself, as well as knowing that the more we stay out of reactivity to the noise and the attempts, only those who are truly out of control and fearful of losing their power would attempt to ever do anything like this. So it's not the powers that be, it's the powers that want to be. The true power is always within the sovereign self, grounded and connected to source energy, that is knowing what they are and that is embodying the full spectrum of that. As we embody the rainbow ray of the cosmic heart, as we live that, whatever that means individually for you and your personal expression and in what you're doing, this is changing everything. And more often than not, a lot of programming that we have is that we're supposed to be received a certain way, or it's supposed to create this, that, and the other in our lives. We're looking for outward circumstances to give us the worth and the value in it. And when we can have that the other way around, that our quiet contentment and knowing that we're being who we are, and we are so desiring the peace and the harmony for all to thrive and have all rights and all freedoms of all expression, not only on the world but beyond it. And that the desire for benevolent support in this to be there, but that we've got to be that within for ourselves and within our own smaller communities and circles first, and then it's going to come in reflected around. So I hope this is an upliftment for you or an encouragement, because I know many, from what I see on social media and others that I work with privately, as I am an intuitive energy healer and a professional medium. So oftentimes when I'm looking at, especially Akashic charts of other, lifetimes as different genders, and for some people they just have more lifetimes as one gender. So it's interesting, that part of the equation of the experience and your sexual reality in this lifetime and your orientation in this lifetime. So those are all, again, beautiful expressions of your soul's journey in this incredible lifetime. And so trust that everything you've been through can serve a purpose, even though we've all been through a lot of traumas and things that will never make sense and never be desired. And yet, if we reach to compassion and we reach to really transmuting this into something that can create greater for everyone to lift, this really can. Because the more part of ascension, the more we ascend into higher possibility of coexisting with all, unity conscious for all, this really can't. What's happening now can't. It can't lift to that. So let's be there. let's live there. Let's create from there and see what's possible. It's exciting times. We are so supported from unseen beings, unseen angelic beings, unseen starseed and benevolent star beings that are here. So know what's true within yourself, trust what is true, and I wish you all the best. So I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more about my work, you can check out my site at intuitivelifestylesuccess.com. I also have an awesome podcast, blog, all kinds of fun things, and definitely check those out. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Be well.